So let's take a moment together to generate our intentions. And so, what's your why? What's your why for being here? Or maybe your who. Maybe part of the reason you come to the Well of Being is to honor, specific relationships and try to show up in those relationships in a way that you feel gets supported by this kind of practice. So as you feel into that, let the images, the thoughts, the feelings really fill you with the positive intentions you have for practice tonight. And as we're practicing here in San Francisco, let's take a moment to just appreciate the land that we're on, this building, and by extension, this whole area that we call San Francisco. So we sense ourselves on land that is billions of years old. And so as we are being here together, practicing together, how do we honor the ancestry of this place, culturally, genetically, etc.? And by extension, the oldest ancestors, the sky, the moon, the sun, the wind, the water element, and sensing again all of our relationships and how our practice ideally is in service to sensing the sacred in the way we work through our days in relationship with the human and the more than human world. And then just for a few more moments, offering any of your own prayers. If you want to open your eyes and orient yourself to whichever space you're in, if you're here, looking around, looking at the colors and the textures and the plants and the other folks here, you're in your own space, same thing. Noticing what's behind you too. And just fully grounding, landing here. Okay, so when you're ready, if your eyes are closed, opening your eyes. Again, welcome. All right, so just to set a little bit of context, a few things. Right now in India, they're in the last third of something called Pitru Paksha. And Pitru Paksha is the ancestor fortnight. It's 2 weeks where the ancestors are honored every year intensively. They're honored throughout the year, but this is the period of time when they say that the ancestors are the closest and that they do the most elaborate kind of honorings. And as you can, and it changes, the time changes each year because it's on the lunar calendar, but it's very much connected to the same cycles that we have in other traditions, like Dia de los Muertos or Dia de los Difuntos, these kind of things too, where you're really bringing in the acknowledgement of all of that momentum that has come from your lineages. And of course, those lineages are not just genetic, they're also spiritual. And so I just thought as a way, again, to get us into the space, this is, there's hundreds of millions of people right now on the planet that are really deeply in that focus. And so it's, I always like to mention that when we're here, because it's a lost art in the West to honor the ancestors. and we're remembering more, but many traditions are, doing this on a daily basis. And so wanted to bring that in. Another piece of context for these practices, when you look at the yoga tradition, the way that they talk about the breath, like one of the most famous texts is called the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. And what they say in the second chapter is that if you steady the breath, you steady the mind. And it's a very cute shloka, so I'm going to say it in Sanskrit. Say, chale vate, chalam chittam, nischale nischalam. And so you get the idea, the word chalam, or that sound, comes back over and over, and it has to do with this process of the things that stir the mind and the things that settle the mind. And then in this case, vate refers to the breath because it's cognate with the air element, and chitta refers to the mind. And then you go a little farther in the same chapter to the 15th shloka of that particular chapter, and then they say, but when you start working them with the breath, it's important to realize it's like training a wild elephant or a wild tiger. You have to go bit by bit, or you can actually cause harm. In another text that is, or actually later in that text, they also refer to the way that the breath patterns are very closely engaged with the mind patterns. And the mind patterns can affect the breath patterns. And I think we all know that to be obvious from our experience. If we get upset or we get surprised or something happens, our breath will change along with often a lot of activity with our minds and thinking. And so the way they put it in the 4th chapter is that if you change one, the other will change. And so there's an emphasis in these traditions to moving toward the breath as a way to work with the mind. And so these practices tonight are very much in that vein. And the last thing I want to share is about how another text called the Yoga Rahasya, which is attributed to a saint named Sri Natamuni and comes from the Krishnamacharya lineage in India, and Krishnamacharya is probably one of the biggest influences on yoga in America through his acolytes like B.K.S. Iyengar and Pattabhi Jois, his own son Desikachar, and they're the sort of diaspora of their students. And what he says in the Yoga Rahasya is he says that the practice of Hatha Yoga in the use of the breath is a form of Bhakti Yoga. And Bhakti Yoga is the yoga of devotion. And it's the only text I've ever seen that reference where they say straightforwardly that you put your full devotion into it and this path requires that. Yeah. And so I wanted to bring up this piece where I was talking to Eve, who's a regular teacher for the Well of Being, like about a month and a half ago. And she's been working with this beautiful teacher in Northern California around communion with medicinal plants, like herbal plants that like similar to dietas that you may be aware of in South American traditions. And that this teacher was really encouraging her to say, yes, you practice, decocting the plant or somehow imbibing the plant, whether it could even be something like basil or it could be any plant really. But the teacher made the emphasis to say it's not just about you, coming in contact. It'll serve you to make yourself somebody that the plant wants to get to know. And I just thought that was so cool. And there was also a twinkle in Eve's eye when she said it that I could see that was working on her. And so this is one of the pieces that's why I brought in this piece about Yoga Rahasya, was to say that this mention of Bhakti Yoga is sort of pure flattery. When you're really in devotion, you're in this place of, you're actually adoring something. So when we start to breathe, how would it be that we treat the breath and the relationship to the breath like something that would be with somebody that we wanted to get to know better, or with more than human element that we wanted to have a deeper connection with. And so I want to kind of leave that to sort of perfume our practice, to say, as we go into some techniques and doing things in the practices, be somebody that those practices are going to want to get to know tonight too. Try that on at least, because I've been having a lot of fun with that, especially with the breath. Because the breath is so delicate that you can really approach it in a way where you can sense every little detail about the way that you invite it, or if you push or pull on it, the way that you control it, or the way that you allow it to express itself with less control. So anyway, that was, again, I guess that's the Dharma talk for the night, to get us into the space. Yeah. Okay. How many of you, it's the first time coming to Well of Being? Okay, a few of you. Great, welcome. All right, so to begin with, again, we're going to be doing seated, we're going to do these practices seated, so I wanted to stand up and do a little bit of movement. Again, we'll make room. You can go away from your chairs. You can actually decouple these chairs if you need to make extra space. Feel free to take space in the middle. So you might need to use the mic.
Yeah, maybe the mic. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. This is going to be fun. Me and the mic will groove. Okay. So everybody just start going like this for a second. And kind of shake a little and wiggle. Just be funky about it. Don't do anything organized. If you want to make a little sound, you can tap your chest or your belly or something. If you don't feel like doing any of this, it's all optional. Yeah. Good. And if you start hearing somebody else making a sound that's a cool sound and you want to do something to kind of enhance and groove on that, do that too. Right, so then we're going to you can keep making sounds, but we're going to step 1 foot forward and then we're going to make some soft circles with our toes and our ankles. So you want to roll over the top of your toes and then go the other direction. We'll do about 8 of each of these. And as you do this, just tune into how your ankle wants to move. Go to the other side. So yeah, you turn, but be interested. Be interested in a detailed way. Like, how does it really feel? And as you start to move it, is there a desire that comes back from turning your ankle like this? Now go the other direction. Great. Okay, and then back to center. Going to turn our head from side to side, just gently. Good, and then coming back to center. And then back and forth. Do this one even more gently, especially if you have any history of neck injuries. Just mobilizing the neck a little bit. 2 more. Great. And now shoulders one at a time, up and back and down. As you do this, you may notice that your upper spine starts to kind of wag like a goldfish tail, so let that happen. Good, last one of those. Now both shoulders together, forward and down. This one, we're going to see if we have enough room in here, but it looks like, this one looks like this. You're going to raise your arms, and as you do, you come up on your toes. So it looks like this. And then you kind of clunk your heels down. Again, because I'm a medical practitioner, almost everything I do has something to it, and it turns out this is a legitimate way to encourage bone density. So if you're menopausal or perimenopausal, and aren't we all, I encourage you to do this. We'll do a few more. It's weird doing it with one arm. Next one, you're going to interlace your fingers, and then you roll your wrists. Just gently. Okay, go the other way. Great. Okay. And then as you release there, you're going to do this one. It's kind of gentle. See if you have enough room. You don't whack anybody. You just go side to side with your arms, and you let your hips go side to side too. And then if you've got room, you can let them go higher. Good. And if this feels good, remember it's legal to do this anywhere. Airports, on the street. A few more. Great. I recently saw this thing where it was like this one couple was walking down the street by the beach, so they were out for a nice walk, and then this other couple was skipping. And it was so clear who I wanted to hang out with. It was like a skipping couple, because the other couple was like, we're walking. And sometimes you have to walk like that. No shade on walking like that, but a lot of us think like, I gotta walk a certain way. But you could actually, just suggesting that. All right, so next one is like this. So you turn and twist, swing your arms. Let your arms relax as they swing. So you really try to relax the elbows in the middle of the swinging. Just a few more like that. So you're twisting. If you can, turn your eyes with the swinging now. So the eyes turn all the way to one corner of the eyes and then the other. Last two. Great. Okay, then hips, swinging hips. Again, you can tell I'm not trying to make you do this in any way. These are really open-ended, so just feel into it. And in fact, this is how when you learn breathing techniques, the inner art of it is really not to have it take on a form. Go the other way. So it may have a structure externally, and we will learn some detailed structures tonight, but remember that each breath is its own complete experience. So when you sort of keep your mind loose. Good. Did we switch directions? Great. Okay, finish up with that. And then kick your heels to your hamstrings. Few more of those. Great. Okay. Last one. It's like a standing wave. So you stick your butt out and then you curl your tail under and you roll up. And you make a little back bend and then you tuck your tail and you tuck your chin, you roll up. Yeah, and then you keep going like that. You can put your attention in the soles of your feet. Good. Do this 5 or 6 more times. Again, and do it in a way that's really pleasing to your body. Like follow that pleasure principle in a sense. Like how does your body want to do it? What areas feel like they're really able to move and it's enjoyable? What areas might be a little stiff? And maybe you want to give a little attention to finding out how to make all of the vertebrae in your spine feel supple. Last two. Great. Okay. And then once again, come back like we started. Just kind of shake it out. You can make some sound if you want to. Do a few more rounds of this, and if you can make sounds that really release your abdomen, because your respiratory diaphragm is right in the middle of your abdomen, and so to get that release actually really helps the breathing. Great. Thanks, everybody. We're going to sit down now. All right, so this first practice that we're going to get into is called Sudarshana Kriya. And it's a process of 3 different breath practices. The first one is which sometimes is called a box breath, but in Sanskrit it's called Samavriti Ujjayi. And I'm not going to go into a lot of the details of Ujjayi breath. How many of you have learned how to breathe that way in yoga classes? Good. If you haven't, do not worry about it, because it's not essential to this. It's just a name that describes what this is, which is the inhale is the same length of the retention of the breath after inhale. And the exhale is the same length as the inhale and the retention, and then you suspend the breath for that same length of time. So it's equal lengths. That's why it's called box breathing. And it's, again, there's a lot of non-yogic spaces that this is used. It's been studied a lot. So we're going to go into that first, and then the second part of it is actually a fast breathing technique where you actually breathe in and out through the nose rapidly. So it's like this. Here's the key with that one. You can do it really gently. You can do it quite slowly, or you can do it really intensely, and you can do it rapidly. And if you have experience and you want to do it more intensely, feel free. If you have less experience, I recommend that you do it more gently and a little more slowly, because what it does is it will change the balance of oxygen and CO2 in the blood, and it does very gently stimulate the nervous system, which is intentional. Because what we follow in the third part of this breathing is we follow the fast breathing with extended exhalation. So we'll take a normal inhale through our nose, but then we're going to really extend the exhale like you're trying to sing a note, and hold the breath out at the end of the exhale. So that what you'll find after the fast breathing is that exhale retention will be much longer than might be your normal. And that it's in that place that you're going to drop right into meditation, because it has a very calming effect on the body and it really focuses the mind. The thing with that last one, the key element of that, is I'm not dictating how long you hold the breath out. Because for some people, after a few seconds, you're going to be feeling like, I'd like to inhale. And so you should. And for other people, like me, it might be 30, 40, even 60 seconds before I feel the need to inhale. And partly the reason I hang out there so long is that I'm blissing out. I'm actually completely relaxed. There's no urgency to breathe. And so the key is, don't be macho about this. And this is why, going back to that Hatha Yoga text, the shloka that I shared, is you never force the breath. That's the only rule with breath work. You never force. Yeah. And so that last one is, you'll hold the breath out until you hear the first gentle impulse to inhale. So that when you draw the inhale, you're feeling relaxed, it's enjoyable, it's pleasurable. And then we'll do several rounds of that, and then we'll drop into meditation for a while, and then we'll come back out and we'll do Kirtan Kriya. Yeah, so this will be a cycle of practices. Yeah, okay. So to start with, everybody, bring your hands and place your fingertips on your breastbone. And then position yourself in a position that's comfortable. If you'd rather sit, if you'd like to lean back or sit up straight, you can use either. If you'd like to lie down, you could even do that if you'd like to. But at first, bring your attention where your fingertips are. And I'm just going to guide you into kind of anatomical grounding with the breathing. So with your next exhale, let the breath out, either through your mouth or your nose, completely. And then inhaling through your nose if possible, and sensing the sensation of the breath filling into the breastbone, spreading out into the back of the heart and out into the underarms. And just take a few breaths working with that. Again, working gently, but tuning your focus into the sensations of the breath in the chest right now, especially through the inhalation. With your next exhale, slide your hands down to the middle of your torso. So your index finger comes to your bottom ribs, your thumbs come to your back lower ribs. And as you position yourself like that, you'll feel that sort of bottom ring of your rib cage. Do the same thing. A few breaths now of sensing how you can, on the inhale, descend the breath so that you feel it expanding 360 degrees around the base of the rib cage. One more breath like that, just noticing where the breath is received, where there might be less receptivity from the body, like it might be easier to breathe into the front of the ribs than the back, or vice versa. Notice side to side. And then with your next exhale, release your hands down, and you can kind of you can fan your fingers out so that your fingers are resting on your lower abdomen, right over your hips, kind of your upper thighs and your hips. And now you can feel where the hands are touching low abdomen. For the next few breaths, sense and feel, notice what you can, dropping your breath into the base of your upper torso, your pelvis. You're going to feel it, you might feel it expanding into your tailbone, you feel it expanding down into your low abdomen, even into your hip sockets. One more breath like that. And then you're going to slide your hands to your knees, or just you're resting them on your lap or your thighs with your palms turned down. With this one, I want you to come back to all three of those areas now. So with the inhalation, with language, we have to describe things in order, but in fact, this inhale process in all three of those areas, your chest, your mid-abdomen, your low abdomen, mid-back, low back, mid-back, upper back, it's all happening simultaneously. So expand the field of your focus to mostly be focusing on your upper torso and sensing how the breath opens into the breastbone, back of the heart, the underarms, around the root of the rib cage, down into the low back, sacrum, the hips and the pelvis, low abdomen. And you're looking for that sense that you get the most even expansion of breath into those regions. So you really are taking yourself in gradually with your sensitivity to notice where there's receptivity, where there's expansion, where there's maybe some resistance and less openness to the breath. Just to be aware of what's there. We're going to do this, we're going to keep this kind of inquiry going with each inhale. And now what I'd like you to do is deepen your breath sort of one notch, because again, I'm intentionally not going to set an arbitrary time on how long this inhale should be, but I want you to notice what's a comfortable deep inhale. Roughly how long does it take? Just sense and feel that time intuitively. If counting helps you, feel free to count internally. And then taking 2 more breaths like that and starting to make it so your inhale, whatever the length of that natural inhale, is the same as the length of your exhale. So you're starting to even these out. feeling how the support and expansion that you get with the inhalations, that you sustain that feeling even as you empty the breath. And then start to add a pause after the inhale that's the same length as the inhale. And this is where it might help to count. You can count thousands, you can count numbers, any counting system that works. Inhale is the same length as holding the breath in after, and then the exhale is the same length as the inhale and the hold. If you still feel like you have capacity to hold the breath out, then make the hold out after the end of the exhale an equal length to the rest of the inhale retention, and the exhale. If it feels stressful to hold the breath out on the exhale, you don't need to include that step. You can go straight from finishing the exhale and then take an inhale. So again, feel into whatever prevents stress, anxiety, fear from arising. If as you get started, you start to feel like you could lengthen your breath, you're still working with the box breathing, the Samavritti Ujjayi, where you are having the equal length of inhale to the retention of the inhale, the exhale, and the suspension of the exhale, if you include that step. And so for about 3 to 5 more minutes, stay in your own process of working with having those 3 or 4 aspects of the breath be of similar or equal length. going through one more cycle of breathing this way, or finishing the cycle that you're on. And when you do, then you can release control of your breathing. And allowing your breath to normalize in whatever way it will. Relaxing any tensions that may have crept in during the practice. Grounding. And we're going to transition to the second aspect of the Sudarshana Kriya, which is this fast breathing practice where we inhale and exhale rapidly through our nose. Again, this can be done gently or more intensely, you pick. We're going to do 3 rounds of about 30 seconds or so. So keep going for another 10 seconds or so right now. Exhale completely. Release control of your breathing. And then as you're ready, we'll begin again for another round. We'll do this round actually a little bit longer, probably closer to 45 seconds. So as you're ready, begin. Good. Continue for about another 15 seconds or so. If you get uncomfortable at any time, you can release the technique. Exhale completely. Release control of your breathing for a few moments. Again, this one is the one that will probably shift you the most. It's the most intense. So just be aware of what is maybe changing and how you feel with this. Good, and then we'll do one more round and we'll do it for about 1 minute. So again, picking a rate and an intensity that you can sustain. Right, exhaling completely. Take a few passive breaths here. Adjust your posture in any way you need to. Make sure you're comfortable. Feel grounded. If you need to open your eyes, that can be grounding. And now, what I'd like you to do is go into a pattern where you're going to take 2 passive breaths. And on the 3rd breath, you're going to hold your exhale out for as long as you're comfortable. And so this really requires you to sense from breath to breath what your body is capable of and what it desires. And so 2 passive breaths. The third inhale is passive, but the third exhale, you're going to intentionally extend that still point at the end of the exhalation. You're going to suspend the exhale for as long as is comfortable. When you get the first subtle signal from the body to inhale, draw the inhale. And then after you hold the breath out like that, you go back to 2 passive breaths, 1 more passive inhale, and then that third exhale you hold out again. Stay aware of your whole body at once. Within your body, the key focal area is going to be to relax tension from your chest. Relax tension from your jaw, behind your eyes. Positioning your head and neck in a comfortable way. We'll keep working with this for another few minutes. Each time that you're holding your breath out at the end of that third breath, enter the still point with your mind as well. Enter the stillness of the breath with conscious awareness. Trust your body to give you the signals for how long it wants to hold the breath out and when it wants to inhale. Part of this meditation is to be sensitive and receptive, to be a good listener to those signals. It turns it into a very spontaneous practice of awareness, because the body will always shift a little bit from breath to breath. After your next exhale retention, release the technique and just rest in meditation with a natural breath. As you release the technique, stay connected to your whole body awareness, sensing your whole body as the field of meditation. So we're going to welcome the sound of the bells as a signal to slowly come out of meditation. You can do that by changing your posture, deepening your breath. If you feel like standing and moving at all, feel free. And at the same time, we're kind of like if you're in a canoe on a lake, it's like we have some momentum now. So keep yourself connected to where we're at. Because all we're going to do is just take a moment to shift, and then we'll move into this next practice. So let's stay with this nice quality that we have going in the presence here right now. So this next practice is the Kirtan Kriya. And it's a practice that comes out of the Kundalini Yoga tradition, which is a very recent. Kundalini Yoga has a deep root in the yoga system of India, but this particular Kundalini Yoga was something that was from the last century. So it has the name of something that's like a much bigger philosophical and practical root in the yoga tradition. And so, as I mentioned earlier, it involves this combination of sound with touch and with visualization. Very simple sounds. The sounds are sa, you can say it back to me, sa, ta, na, ma. Sa, ta, na, ma. One more time. The touch, your thumb comes to your index finger on sa, and then it moves to the middle finger on ta, the ring finger on na, and the little finger on ma. Okay? Let's try that a couple of times. Sa, ta, na, ma. So in the Kundalini tradition, there's a lot behind this practice that has to do with their philosophy and their beliefs. And so to, give it proper respect, it has to do with these sounds relating to how things become, how they're sustained, how they disappear, and then how they become again. So it's relating to the whole cycle of creation and destruction in these four little sounds. The visualization has two parts to it. When you say sa, you visualize a light, and it could be of any color actually. It could be white light, could be any color that occurs to you that seems right. Comes in through the top of the head, and as you say ta, it comes out through the space between the eyebrows, the third eye center, if you're familiar with the chakra system. Yeah. So with na and ma, there's no visualization, but you are still doing the touching. Okay, so these are the elements. How we're going to do this is I'm going to use the computer to actually, for those that are watching on Zoom, you'll have a little visual that has the sounds, and but here we'll do it together. You'll have to just do it from the instruction. We're going to use a soundtrack. There's a Kundalini yoga practitioner named Niranjan Kaur that has made a track that I particularly like for this meditation. If you go on YouTube or Spotify, there's dozens of tracks for this practice because it's a very foundational practice in that tradition of yoga. But I like Niranjan Kaur's version of it because of some of the subtleties and cueing that's in it, because it's structured like this. We're going to be sounding out loud for the first 2 minutes, and it's got a tone to it. Sa, ta, na, ma. It's like that. She's better. And then it goes whisper for 2 minutes. Then it goes silent for 2 minutes where it's internal. Then you go whisper for 2 minutes, and you go back to out loud for 2 minutes. So it's a 12-minute process. The out loud is to really get you focused. It engages you. When you start to whisper, it's for refinement. And then, when you start, it's for refinement. And then when you go silent, it's to take you in. When we finish, the track will end, and then we'll drop back into meditation. Okay? Yeah, any questions? Yeah.
You're doing this whisper and silent, right?
Yes, we keep the visualization and the hand mudras continue through the whole thing. They don't change.
Okay, and where are you holding your hands?
You can position them wherever they're comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't need to put them anywhere special, just wherever it's going to be comfortable, where you can touch the fingers. Okay, anybody else have any questions before we start this? Okay, here we go. Yeah,
My speech start, I apologize.
sure.
So Satanama.
Correct.
Satanama. What's that mean again? It's like I know it's a sacred resonance, but
Yeah.
the birth and
Exactly.
so that's
It's related to that cycle of how things become, they are, and then they dissolve. And then it has to do with infinity. It's like the space that is beyond all that.
We're not hearing the question too much, so.
Okay, great. So the question was, what was the significance of Sata Nama? And so it has to do with this cycle of creation and destruction, and then the reality that's beyond life and death.
You said light goes through here,
Mhm.
through here.
Right. So the visualization is that on Sa, light comes in through the crown of the head, and on Ta, light comes out through the third eye. Any other questions? It's like juggling, like I said. You've got a few things you got to do at once. So Sa, Ta, Na, Ma. Sa, Ta, Na, Ma. Okay. There's one trick with Zoom where you have to push the soundtrack and then go back to the Zoom, push the Zoom. I hope it works out.
Sadanama, 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 Sadanama,
Whispering.
Sadanama, 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 Sadanama.
So it's possible that the mantra is still going to be the mantra is still going to be going in your mind. Allow that. And then just gradually let it quiet down if it hasn't already. And release control of your breath. Relax your hands. And position yourself to rest in meditation. body. Your eyes are closed, just slowly opening your eyes when you're ready. All right, so we have just a few more minutes together. I wanted to make sure if there's any questions or anybody want to share anything about your experience with either of those practices. And I'll remember to repeat for Zoom folks. Oh, great, thank you.
Sure. I guess for, I can't remember the mantra, Sadanama?
Yeah,
For
sit
that,
down.
if you're struggling to visualize the light, what should you be focusing on? Because I feel like generally I have a hard time visualizing things.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is not uncommon. And so if you're somebody who has some difficulty with visualizing, then you would focus on the sound and the touch primarily, like really put your attention into that, and then but stay connected to your whole body. You know, in the sense of try to continue to feel the shape of your body, because in a certain way that's visual too, by staying connected to it. And then, you know, you keep coming back to it because it might be something that you can forge that pathway with practice. Yeah, thanks.
So first of all, thank you. I really appreciate it. That was great. I guess just a couple of questions. One, for the visualization, I thought that was interesting about the creative destruction piece. When you visualize the sa and the ta on sort of the index finger and the middle finger, where does your mind go, or what do you visualize when you go to the na and the ma?
You know, strictly speaking, there's no instruction about a visualization for those sounds, but in all honesty, what I end up doing is I end up going to my heart and then to my navel center, because it's so natural to kind of go through those centers. And it just started to happen spontaneously because my mind wanted to stay with the visualization somewhere. And so I wasn't so much picturing the light, but I would just move my mind in those places. And also, I mean, your mind can also go to your fingers, you know, where you're.
That was kind of where my mind gravitated towards. So
Yeah,
that's great.
yeah.
And then is the idea for the sa and the ta that are you downloading something? Is it like that you're downloading energy or something?
You know, I don't want to speak, you know, for kind of some of the deeper and you could say more spiritual intents behind this practice, you know, from that tradition. But absolutely, it's about bringing light into your mind. Absolutely. And I mean, how many people in here started to feel sort of tingling or you might still have those sensations? And this is, I think, one of the things why they ended up studying it, because people were able to you physically feel like with doing that much of, you know, kind of intentionally visualizing light, that it actually starts to produce an effect that you can sense, you know, like a sensation.
Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah, it's very cool, isn't it? And in some ways, I was sort of throwing you into something that was a lot more structured. You know, the first time through, there was a lot more room for finding an organic relationship to it. This is highly structured. So then you see how you respond to that. And, you know, my long-term teacher would always say, you know, it's like whatever, you know, the things that are easy for you, that's great. The things that are hard for you, it's also good, because some people love to have more free form. Some people love structure, and it's just not getting stuck on one or the other. That's really the goal, you could say, if there is one. Yeah.
Scar, I wanted to ask about the sequence in both of the practices.
Sure.
Is that sort of like a standard sequence? Is that something that you sort of concocted with, you know, of your wealth of knowledge? Because it seemed to have, from an experience perspective, seems to be very intentional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, both of those practices do come out of, those are pre-established, so they have a very intentional order, you know. And then what I try to do as the facilitator, is just kind of give people room to be in it, you know, because the structure can feel constrictive or confusing. So, yeah. So that first practice is that equal part breathing, and then the fast breathing, and then you go through that practice of long exhale retention. What you can do with that, if you're, you know, more experienced with that kind of breathing, is you can skip those 2 passive breaths. But having those 2 passive breaths just allows and makes sure that you never really get, you know, stressed. Yeah, it always brings you back to grounding into what's natural before you do what's technical.
So it has like a settling effect, and then the visualizing piece is
Yeah,
easier.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, thanks.
If we could use the mic in the room.
Sure, yeah, I'll make sure to do that, thanks.
I love the mantra meditation, the kirtan,
Yeah.
Satanama. I just realized we did learn about Satanama from Brenna, one of
Oh,
our yoga teachers.
Yeah, I know
But
Brenna,
we
she's a buddy of mine.
Oh, Greenham? Brett
Oh, I thought you said Brenna Guillaume.
Gim, yeah,
Yeah.
Brenna Gim. No way, awesome. Brenna's awesome.
Yeah,
So
she is.
cool.
She's so good.
But we never practiced with the touch and the visualization. Wow. Honestly, unlock something because I'm going to be doing this for a long time at home.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just again to give credit where it's due, that it's called Kirtan Kriya.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of variations, and that was Nirinjan Kaur. So Nirinjan, Kaur, which is Kaur. And
Okay.
again, what I like about that track is that when you practice with it, you hear that bell that comes. And so it just tells you exactly when to change, and you don't, you know, after, you know, it's just very easy and such a beautiful, you know, voice that she has too. So it's
Yeah.
really easy to practice. And she
It's-
has a 25-minute version.
Oh, wow.
So there's a longer form of it too.
How long was that?
That was 12.
I entered such a deep meditative state from that. It was really incredible.
Yeah.
It just helped center me so quickly. Something about the sound is really just resonant with my personal
Absolutely.
whatever's going on here. So
Yeah. Right.
yeah, thank you so much. Really,
you're welcome.
really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like, you know, when I sometimes do mantra meditation, it unlocks something in my throat and it just feels this like it's crazy buzzing.
Yeah.
And then it starts to spread. And of course, through Vipassana meditation and sitting meditation, that will come.
Yeah.
But it usually takes me longer to settle the mind.
Right.
But this helped me drop in quickly. So yeah, I really
Yeah.
appreciate this. Curious about diving into it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I think that's a really great point, that we all, when you find your ways in, they're all legitimate ways in. You know, even from the yoga tradition, the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali, right when he's describing meditation, or she or they, I'm not sure, Patanjali's a mythical figure, but right when the description of meditation is given, there's a sutra that follows that says, and use anything that works, essentially is what it says right in the text, that there isn't a kind of orthodox way to enter in. You find out what works and takes you in that direction, and that's legitimate.
So I just want to say thank you, first of all.
Question online.
Oh.
We have a question here, Renee.
Sure, okay.
Hi, sorry. I just wanted to say I'm so grateful that you and Eve decided to do this. That was absolutely beautiful.
Oh, good.
It was so wonderful. At one point, I just welled up with tears because it was just so beautiful. I'm a bit speechless, and one of my dogs came up to touch my leg while I was doing the mantra, and the whole room could feel it. It was what a beautiful, beautiful experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was a beautiful experience here too. The sound of us all together for me. Yeah, thanks a lot, Renee. Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's a
one more and then
beautiful
we'll
experience.
close because we're at that time.
Yeah, and I just I've played with breath retention in the past, and yes, always would feel like a little bit of stress, anxiety, and holding the out breath.
Yeah.
That shifted tonight a bit. It was really interesting. Like the longer we were practicing, it started to feel more easy. And then after that, faster breath. Was that Kapalabhati breath?
Yeah, we were doing something called Bastrika. So when you
Bastrika.
do forceful inhale and exhale, it's called
Okay.
Bastrika.
And after that, as you said, really feeling a lot more comfortable in the out retention. But my question is the reason that there's some tension or anxiety there is because it's like my system thinks that I'm dying because that's like the last thing that happens? Or
Yeah.
is it like a
The simple,
physiological
in one
thing?
word, yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as you start working with the breath, you're so close to, the survival instinct and the safety instinct that it will trigger that. And it's another reason why I wanted to bring in that image that Eve gave me, which was of being like, you want the breath to want to play with you. So you breathe in a way where you're actually working with it, because it can be it's easy to control it because it's subtle, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it unlocks its secrets for you if you're going to come at it with that kind of attitude.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, once again, thank you. I want to thank Tom for helping, and I wanted to thank Julie for helping, and Mace for helping, and Eve for bringing me here. And what a beautiful community. Thank you all. Yeah, everybody have a good night.
I just have a few quick announcements.